不是我听错了。
Mute the mic.
Hello everyone. Okay. Sorry for the internet interruption, guys. So, hello everyone. First thing first, I'd like to thank and welcome each and every individual present here for the day two of Katha Bhitra Katha, that is Tales of Tales, supported by Bhoklagyo, Kravescape, Ambassador Designs, and Guff and Stuff. Dating is all about thrilling stories along with some golf and stuffs presented by AIESEC in Kathmandu. I'd like to take a moment to introduce AIESEC and why this event is done by AIESEC in Kathmandu. AIESEC is one of the largest youth-run organizations present in 120 plus countries and territories with the vision to strive to achieve peace and fulfillment of humankind's potential. With the objective of unleashing the stories of Nepal, we, AIESEC in Kathmandu, one of the local chapter of AIESEC Nepal, presents Katha Bhitra Katha Day 2. Our supporting partner for the event are Bhoklagyo, the first late-night delivery service in Nepal, delivering food inside Kathmandu Valley till 4 a.m. Modern unification of the Nepalese community all around the world. Ambassador Design, Nepali brand that prioritizes quality, a complete official wardrobe that provides ready-made and customized formals. Kravescape, food delivery service started with the vision to innovate and build better platform for food deliveries and order, delivering food for your everyday cravings. WowSnacks, snack manufactured with a passion to evoke emotion to deliver wow experience for each bite. Guff and Stuff, weekly podcast from three groups of friends talking about various stuffs and breaking the stereotypes of this society. So, with this, me, Lasta Chaudhary, head of social sector from AIESEC in Kathmandu, will be moderating the session for tonight. Without the further delay, I'd like to invite Ms. Season Gilal, President of AIESEC in Kathmandu, for the opening speech. Season Gilal, this stage is all yours.
Thank you, Lasta. Welcome everyone once again for the second day of Katha Bhitra Katha, that is the horror night. Most of you were present there yesterday also, but then I like to take a moment to talk about the objective of the event itself. Like Lasta mentioned, the objective of the entire series of event Katha Bhitra Katha is unleashing the different stories that are prevalent in our society. So yesterday we had an amazing documentary night where we focused on the Pride Month, spoke about and discussed, had an intense discussion about life of Miss Sapna of Tarai Belt, a transgender woman, and it was a complete success that we felt yesterday. So today, consecutively, we have brought another event, that is the Horror Night, where we will be listening to some of the stories of 90s and 2000s. So it's going to be another day of hearing out new stories, a good discussion, and a lot of fun today. So I hope everyone enjoys the event. And not to forget, I'd also want to mention that the entire intent of the event is for a social cause. The six partners we have and everything that we're doing for this event is for a social cause. And the in-kind partnership that we have received from the event itself is going to be donated completely. So all of the 101 individuals present in this call are a part of this social cause. And I again want to thank everyone for being present here today. And yes, let's have fun. And I again want to pass the space to Lasta. Thank you, Lasta.
Thank you so much, Susan, for your speech. Moving on forward, I'd like to remind you guys, simple rules. Please keep your mic muted when someone else is speaking or during the video is being played. Respect the speaker. During the event, if any technical glitches or internet instability happen, it's better to join from your cell phone itself. And most importantly, don't forget to switch off your lights. Without the further delay for this event, let me check the energy in the house. I will be asking you simple three questions and you guys can reply via text. So moving on to the first question, on the scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the very lowest and 5 being the very highest, how sleepy are you? Okay. 1 4 3 1 4 0 1 5 4 3. Okay, awesome, awesome, guys. So, moving towards the next question. Do you believe in ghosts or the ghost stories? Yes or no? Do you guys believe in ghosts or the ghost stories? Oh my god. Yes, no, 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 yes, yes, no, no. Amazing, amazing, interesting. So, moving on the last question. On the scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, how excited are you for horror night? Whoa, a lot of excitement. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so without further delay, I'd like to invite Mr. Saman to take this space to share some glimpse about his story that is going to be presented in a few minutes. So, Mr. Saman.
So yeah, good morning, good evening, everyone. So we three friends, as already mentioned, we make weekly podcasts on various issues that we feel that we need to talk on, not just social issues, but that might be some random issues as well. So we talk on them. And regarding horror stories, we have our own concepts regarding horror stories. And then first we thought how to write the horror stories. So when we discussed with each other and we discussed with season and Lalasta and all of the guys, then we thought that it would be better if we present our own stories. So we have presented our own stories. So first, my story will be played, and then followed by my another friend, and then by another friend. So yeah, that will be the order. And then I think I should not divulge much of the story because that might decrease some excitement. So I think we should move forward.
So, thank you so much, Mr. Saman, for the glimpse of your stories. Now, in a few minutes, we are going to be played our first story of the horror night. Guys, can I see the excitement in the chats? Oh, yes. Don't forget to turn off your light, guys. Let's get begin.
The Boy Who Lived by Samman Humayun. The neighborhood is astonishingly calm these days. One can overhear the sparrows chirping in the nearby tree. When the frog nearby the puddle croaks just a couple of times, one can actually hear it without the interception of people talking. It's the season of paddy, so everyone around the neighborhood are busy preparing for paddy plantation. This neighborhood was quite opposite to what you are going to hear until a month ago. These days are just like the aftermath of the storm. Everything is just quiet. There is pin drop silence, just like the coastal areas of the sea after a storm. You may be pondering on the thought about what exactly unfolded a month ago. Well, a lot more than you can imagine, as I can tell. But it is important to divulge this horrifying yet good little secret. Okay, the story goes like this. In the alleys of Patan, there is one old house. It is believed that this house has been in existence for hundreds of years. Before you try to think that this house is haunted, then sadly, you are mistaken. So, this house has been well maintained and has been passed on from generations to generations. Three-storied house has a lawn and even a terrace for the house of those times. Made up of raw bricks and mud, this house is like the Kohinoor diamond, a rare piece. There is no such kind of a house in that area except this, but the house does not belong to some ancient royal families or some powerful stakeholders, rather to an ordinary family. Everything was going great in that house and community. The children were growing up quite well and behaving like how they should. Naughty, scared when their father scolded them, and would spend hours and hours playing with their friends. The grandparents loved both the grandson and granddaughter very much and gave everything the grandchildren demanded, as they were the two precious pieces of their heart. However, all of this peace and happiness was coming to its demise. The grandson of the family was loved by all. He was the younger brother who was born after his sister Purnima. The family members used to call him Babu, as he was the only son and grandson. His real name was Pushpa, which was rarely taken in the house. The boy was still a child but was on the brink of hitting puberty. He must have been at least 11 or may have been running on his 12. Having light brown complexion, the boy had curly black hair, which usually grew long before his father came from long business journeys and used to cut it. He had thick eyebrows with small black eyes. A birthmark existed on the back side of his neck and had a small nose compared to his family members. He was tall for the boy of his age. It had not been much time since the boy stopped playing with his sister frequently. He would either be in his own space or helping grandparents on the daily chores. Except for the sister, no one had noticed this change in his behavior. No one really knew what had happened to him. Everything was going as normal. Nothing strange or new had happened in the community or the house for a while. It seemed that this was to continue forever. However, one evening just after dark, Babu was found unconscious in the lawn. No external injuries were seen on his body, but the grandparents were worried for him, so he was swiftly taken to the nearby shaman's house. The shaman ordered the parents to bring an egg of a duck and some rice. After chanting some mantras and throwing the rice around, the shaman then mixed vermilion powder in the water and sprinkled it to the sky, to the ground, and in all four directions. Within a couple of minutes, the boy regained consciousness. When asked about what caused him to faint, Babu answered in a rushed and trembling voice, "I saw a small boy in the dark, which did not belong to this place. He tried to shake my hand. Just as the hand touched my hand, small boy's eyes began to light up, like the cat's eyes light up in the dark. Those eyes seemed to have blue pupils, which seemed uncanny when compared to the people of this community. And when the small boy's mouth began to glow, his lips seemed to be black, and the baffling thing was the small boy did not have any teeth. This made me shell-shocked, and everything around me started to spin, and I could not see properly. And don't know what happened after that." The shaman, an old man, probably in his early 60s, told the grandparents, "Your boy has been in this state because of the fault of the spirits in this area. Make him perform puja, worship in the people tree every Sunday for 6 months, and he will be completely fine." Thanking the shaman, the family went towards home with the boy, who now could walk just like before. Next day, Babu was again back to his best. He remembered the incident for a few days, and just like a normal child, he ultimately gave the memory to the storing part of his brain. He was not running here and there like other children in the age, but played with his sister after some time. Time passed on, and the boy and his family forgot the incident. One evening after dinner, the elders went straight to bed and ordered the children to go to bed as well. Children, being children, were not listening to the elders and busy whispering to each other in the common room. It must have been half an hour or so. Later, Purnima was heard screaming on top of her lungs. With all the speeds, the elder reached the staircase where the girl was found to be. When asked about what happened, she told them, "Someone pushed her from behind, but luckily she grabbed the railings of the staircase." After getting herself in control, she looked towards the direction of her being pushed and saw the shadow of someone running away. She was terrified to follow it. The elders felt that this must have been a prank performed by Babu to his sister. "Babu, you do not do this to your sister, okay? You need to be a good child," the mother replied after taking Babu to a corner of the corridor. "But mom, I did not do anything," Pushpa protested. The elders did not feel important to listen to his explanation and put the children to bed and stayed in the children's common room till both the siblings fell asleep. Next evening, the boy was playing on the terrace all alone. It was getting darker as every minute passed. The grandmother was preparing dinner while grandpa and father had gone to the market to sell the vegetables that had grown on the farm. Grandmother was teaching Purnima how to weave cotton line. Granny was making Purnima learn by luring her with a children's story Granny heard when she was a child herself. It was a story about a child who did not have parents and her struggles. As the grandmother was telling Purnima how the girl learned to ride a horse, a loud cry of "Ah!" came from the terrace of the house. When the mother reached the terrace, the boy was crying out in agony with his palm having been cut severely. Babu, you should not be fooling around with weapons, and definitely not when it is dark, said the mother worryingly after seeing a knife a little far away from Babu. It was already pitch dark, so the mother came and tore her sari and tightened the piece around the wound. But mom, I did not cut myself, and I was not playing with the knife. I don't know what happened, the boy expressed regarding his absence in this incident. Babu, don't make excuses in front of me. You should not fiddle with a knife. And if you have to be then be vigilant while using it, okay? Mother responded softly so that Babu would not feel dejected. After a few minutes, it stopped bleeding. The mother put some medicine in the wound, which caused the boy further pain for a while, and then put a bandage around it. When Purnima and grandmother reached the terrace, Babu seemed to be all right. Why did you shout? What happened? Asked the grandmother. Nothing of any sort happened. I just got frightened by seeing a mouse. I'm all right. The boy gave a wide smile, pretending to be all right, and made sure that his hand was not visible to both of them. Everyone was doing their best to keep these recent past behind, but time was not permitting them to do so, and another time came for its part. It must have been around 10 in the night. The grandmother was weaving cotton lights for the daily prayers. She was falling asleep and was about to go to bed. She heard something moving outside her room. Wondering what it must be at the middle of the night, she went outside at the corridor to inspect. Who's there? If it is you children playing a prank or running here and there at this time of the night, then snap out of it, grandmother ordered with an affirmative voice. Suddenly, she felt something cold behind her. It was the kind of cold she had never felt, not even during the coldest days of the winter. The coldness was like the chill that comes in the body at times, but this chill was present not for a few seconds, but she felt it like it was for eternity. It was as if she could feel the cold inside her bones. She was already feeling skeptical and turned behind to look at it. A loud scream came from that black figure standing taller than the granny. It had eyes, just like Babu said, and when it opened its mouth for a wild cry, it seemed like a wild animal. Completely taken by surprise, Granny gave a loud cry. The elders of the house were awakened by her scream and rushed towards her. However, Granny was nowhere to be found. They searched for her everywhere but found her in the lawn of the house, lying on the ground with eyes wide open to the possible extent, with her body already ice cold. The death of the grandmother shocked the entire community. The family was grief-stricken by her death. Granny loved the boy dearly and sometimes more than her granddaughter as well. The death came not as a shock but more as terror. Until now, the community members did not know what was going inside the house. Now there were all kinds of rumors and speculations about the house being haunted, the god becoming angry, and some kind of disturbed spirit was roaming around the house. In those days, there was no prevalence of post-mortem in the society, but the baffling thought was she did not seem to have any external injuries, nor any bones broken or muscles torn. The only unnatural point was her eyes torn wide out as if she did not expect to die in that manner and in that moment. Her mouth seemed to be opened a bit, but not completely open. And the family members were still in a state of confusion regarding the loud cry they heard. It indeed was perplexing when the body told one story and the experience another. After the end of 12 days ritual rites, the community started to accept the death as her natural fate rather than being murdered. However, the grandfather was having a torrid time, accepting the fact that he was a widower now and his beautiful wife is nowhere to be. The boy was also in the state of feeling isolated after the death of his granny. It was very difficult for the mother to get distracted and make him play with his sister. From the onset, everything began to get back to what people call normal. After the 12 days ritual was done with, the initial days were difficult for the family to understand and feel the fact that Granny was not around them anymore. But everyone around them assured them time was the biggest healer. But Grandpa was now getting weaker and weaker every day. The feeling of loneliness and the death of his life partner took a toll on him. For about 3 months after Granny's death, he could walk without any difficulties, but then he got asthma, which limited his physical movements to a minimal level. I don't see clearly the things around me anymore, and everything seems to be shaking around me. Grandpa professed to the father. The father had more responsibilities than ever. He was assisted by his daughters in the kitchen and other household chores. Father was often in the market from dawn till dusk, and sometimes far away from for business purpose that took days and weeks. Purnima gradually took over all the household responsibilities and now was becoming good in what she did. Purnima did all the household chores, looked after grandpa, as well as her brother, was mostly in solitude or in silence. Nobody was getting hurt, and nothing bad was happening except for the ailing grandpa. Grandpa had become so weak that now he could barely get out of bed. He had to be fed, get cleaned, and tended within the bed. Purnima, the granddaughter, was assisting grandpa while he ate, and father, when he was home, or the neighborhood uncle helped to get him cleaned. Babu mostly stayed with grandpa but talked rarely, and most of the time
Losta, Losta, I think it's muted. Could you please check?
home. They searched for him throughout the house, but he was nowhere to be seen. Babu felt that something was moving in the attic. He rushed towards the moving object, and to his surprise, Grandpa was there lying on the ground breathing rapidly. Babu could not muster enough courage to go and see what was happening to his grandpa, nor did he have the thought of rushing to inform his father about what he had discovered. Grandpa was bleeding from his nose, and the whole family paid attention to the loud crying of the boy. Feeling uncertain about why Babu was crying in such a high voice, the family went towards the part of the house where he was crying. He was seated in the middle of the ladder that went up to the attic. Tears were flowing from his eyes, as if the tears were in the competition to dive down the place and fall to the ground. When the father reached there, he hugged and caressed the boy. He asked why he was crying. The boy did not utter a word and pointed towards the attic. Confused and nervous, the father went up to the ladder to the attic. To his surprise, Grandpa seemed to be sleeping very soundly on his sides. When he approached Grandpa and tried to check on him, Grandpa did not seem to be moved. "Ba, you all right? What happened to you? How did you come all the way to here?" Father had many questions in his head like these, but he knew that this was not the time to ask. Grandpa was rushed to the shaman's house, where Babu was taken some time back. He had little pulse and was breathing very lightly, as if his lungs were feeling the weight of the oxygen in his lungs. The shaman informed the family that Grandpa would not live long from now on, so it is in his best interest that everyone is around him and they show love, devotion, and care towards him. Mother could not bear to hear this news, and she began to sob and rushed towards home, but nobody noticed except Babu. Now the family was trembling with fear. Especially the children were now severely affected. The father kept on trying to make them better, but it was not helping at all. The children did not understand what was going on, but they knew that something was not going right. The fainting, the pushing, the cutting, Granny's death, and the most mind-boggling thing was Grandpa, who is unable to work much, is found to be lying in the attic waiting for his death. The most affected was Babu, who now did not talk much, nor played with his sibling. The father could not notice the change in his behavior, as he himself was worried about Grandpa and all the recent events that had been taking place in the house. Grandpa died 5 months after him being found in the attic. He died in his sleep with his son and grandchildren around him. Mother could not watch it from such a close range, so observed everything standing outside the room. Nothing supernatural happened since grandfather was found in the attic. The children had long forgotten the incident and had become children again, while the father still had some fear in his heart. After the 12 days ritual was done, father decided to hold a puja at the house so that whatever was out there making them feel petrified, would calm down and mind its own business. Next day, the priest came, and the puja was held for several hours on the lawn of the house, with the children there as well. The priest assured them that some spirit might have been roaming around the house, as it was in unrest. But now, it will not hurt anyone and will go away. All those unfortunate events ceased to take place, but Babu was indifferent to everything that was happening around. He did not leave the common room much, and if he did, sometimes he would either be in the attic, the terrace, staircase, or the lawn. The father felt that he had not recovered from the grandparents' death and everything that happened in recent times, which was tough for them, but it was even tougher for a boy. Babu, what has happened to you these days? Why are you so silent? Purnima, the elder sister, used to ask him at times, but that always went into vain as Babu never answered. Time passed, but his behavior was becoming even more mysterious. He talked sparsely now, and he had no interest in playing, studying, or working completely. The father was concerned and took him to the shaman to figure out what had happened to him. The shaman, after some inspection, chanted some mantras, threw some rice and black lentil on the boy's face towards the sky and to the soil. The boy is undergoing a bad phase in his life and it will come to an end in a year or so. Refrain from doing any activities that might be regretful for you in the future, suggested the shaman to Babu. One night everyone is asleep. It was drizzling outside, but everything was in peace. Babu woke up all of a sudden after hearing a noise in the attic. Without any thought, he walked towards the attic. There was no one there. As he turned around, a boy with a face shrieked at him all of a sudden. The lightning quick ambush caused Babu to fall to the ground. The other boy, just like him, ran down the ladder towards the lawn. Babu chased him to the lawn and again towards the attic. This time he took an old knife which he found lying in the attic. Probably it may have been the same knife that cut his palm before. And just before the other boy reached the lawn, Babu grabbed and attempted to stab him on the stomach, but ended up hitting his arm. And just before the other boy reached the lawn, Babu grabbed and attempted to stab him. The other boy could not bear and cried in agony. Maybe a few seconds had passed after the other boy who had been stabbed disappeared just like that. Babu was taken by surprise. There was no sign of the other boy in sight. Just when Babu was about to search for the other boy, he began to feel pain in his body. Blood was coming out of his left arm. He could not bear the pain or the fact that he had hit the other guy, but ended up hurting himself. Early the next morning, Mother got terrified when she saw a puddle full of blood in the lawn. She couldn't comprehend what she was seeing and screaming in top of her voice. The father was out of town since a week, so only the daughter was there in the house. To her surprise, Babu was missing from the house. She, with the help of other neighbors, searched for him everywhere in the house, in the community, everywhere, but he was nowhere to be found. After a few days, the father came back from work. He asked his daughter Purnima where Babu was. Purnima divulged what had happened on his absence. Both of them searched for Babu for days, but he was never found. Meera, I'm sorry. I could not look after your son. I don't know where he went. I have tried my best to give him all the love and support I could, but I think I have failed. I'm really sorry, Meera, and I failed you. Father was sobbing in his room. Purnima was listening to him peeking from outside the door. She also misses mom, whom she can only remember in vague memories. She always felt pitiful towards Babu, who had to grow up without seeing his mother and getting her love. And now Babu is gone as well. It has been a month since that tragic yet real or unreal event we don't know took place in that house. No one lives there anymore. The father and Purnima have migrated to another place to live, believing that something will never be right in that house. The house remains theirs, and nobody may ever dare to buy because of all the speculations and stories about it. Babu has not been found till now, and no one has sighted him. Even if he was dead, people may have talked about Babu scaring the people, but that has also not happened as of yet. Some say that Babu is spotted on the bank of the river. Some say Babu is seen sowing crops in the field at night, but there is no evidence to back it. Some say the boy went in search of his mother and died in the way. Others also gossip that he found his mother in some cave and is living with her. But for the real world, Babu may be behind you just listening to his own story without disturbing you or without terrifying you. Look behind with your own risk. The boy may or may not be there. If he's there, he may say hi just like a normal kid, or he may terrify you. It's up to you. Maybe sometimes the mother might also be accompanying Babu so that he will not get into trouble. You want to look back? You really want to look back?
Thank you so much, Saman, for your early 90s story. I was completely lost and going into the flow of this story. Let's just take a breather to process this story. I will be taking two sharings or two questions for just 10 minutes of you guys. You can also type your story for Mr. Saman or can unmute your mic one by one, or you can just type your story in the text. Mr. Saman will be taking your questions for two sharing.
So, how do you guys like the ending? So, you mentioned that. Anyone turning back?
So, guys, is there any questions or the situation or story is related to you? You can share on muting your mic, or you can just type in the story in the chat box. Is it a real story of 90s? Hello, Mr. Saman, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello?
Mr. Saman, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
So, anyone have any question?
Yeah. There is a question from Mr. Sachin. He is saying that is it a real story of 90s?
Not at all. That would be the answer.
Thank you so much. So, guys, is there some questions? So, Shrishna, you have some questions. You can unmute your mic and speak.
So I would like to give you one question for or a thought. What do you think about the mother?
So, guys, Mr. Saman is
I'm
asking you a
ready.
question. Okay.
Have you ever seen ghosts in your real life?
No. I have not, but I've read so many stories that I feel scared sometimes.
And this story, this horror one, is this just imagination?
Yeah, it's an imagination. I wrote based on my own thoughts. I I first developed some sequences and then added later on. So regarding why the horror sounds were quite less, the story is more like a thriller. So if you guys have noticed about the boy how he is not found at the end, so you guys can think about that, what happened to him, what actually who actually he was, and about the family as a whole. You guys can think about that as well. Okay, Robina wants to ask a question.
Okay, so I can see next question in.
So how much
Okay,
did
Robina
you
is
spend
next.
on this movie?
Sorry.
How much time did you spend on making it?
To be honest, I invested 3 complete days and 1 night to write the story.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Saman, for interacting with the audience, and we will be doing further discussing space at the end. Thank you so much, Mr. Saman. So for now, we are going to.
Okay. So for now, we are going to present you the next story of tonight by Miss Pratiksha. So I'd like to invite Miss Pratiksha to take a space and share some of the glimpse about her stories that is going to be presented. Miss Pratiksha, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So can you
Hello
share some
everyone.
of the
I
glimpse
hope
of
you
the
enjoyed the
story?
previous story. And
Mm-hmm.
my story, yeah, I will be doing that. So, hello everyone. Hi. I hope you enjoyed the previous story. So my story, like as the title said, my story is based on Varasi. It's a Newari culture. So if you are not familiar with this culture, which is a Gufa culture, then it's not a big deal. You would understand the story anyways. So since I'm getting this platform, I would also like to talk a bit about Guff and Stuff. So Guff and Stuff is it's a comparatively recent podcast. It's been 3 months that we have started this, and we are three Guffadi friends, like in the title, talking about various stuff every week, and we talk about everything, starting from Bollywood, underrated actors to nationalism. And one of our episode was on ghost stories. If you are interested, do check that out. And I'm really enjoying the comment section. So please do comment if you like. You can also rate my story. It's okay if you even read it as well. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much, Miss Pratiksha, for your sharing. Now we are moving forward for the next story. Just we are taking just a breather of 1 minute to start the next story. So the next story is Barasi, as Pratiksha mentioned.
This is a story based on early 2000 on a small town of Kirtipur, Nepal. The story is about two friends, Bala and Rekha. Rekha is married with her husband Dinesh. My name is Pratiksha and I will be your narrator for this story. The title of the story is Barasi. Dinesh rushed his wife into the hospital after she started crying with pain. At the hospital, Dinesh holds her hand tightly, panting with fear. We will make it through, he says. He leaves the room praying for his wife to survive. She lies in bed, semi conscious. She sees this recurring dream for the fifth time today. In the dream, there is a lovely white lamb standing out against the fresh green grass, innocent and completely harmless. The lamb doesn't move a bit and stares at her. She notices the eyes full of stories. The stare makes her feel uncomfortable and insecure. She tries to run away, but her body feels paralyzed. She tries to move her leg, but is stuck with this view. She wakes up crying from sleep. This could be her third miscarriage. The pressure to bear a son is more, but her family at this point is okay with any child she gets. Dinesh, her husband, is okay without a child, but Rekha badly wants a kid. She feels this is the only way to release this feeling of uneasiness from her body. She often feels uneasy and tired. She lives with a constant need to release energy from her body. Her husband Dinesh really loves her, but finds it difficult to keep up with her. He sometimes wishes if she was never part of his life. Rekha, on the other hand, feels discouraged to live and wants her husband to know the truth before she dies. Dinesh sits in the chair right beside her bed and she starts talking about her most depressed memory. I was 13 years old at the time and had a friend named Bala, my only friend, when my family moved to the town of Kirtipur, a small town inhabited mostly by Newar people. Few people from other communities. She was my only friend for years. I will not say that we had deep intimate relationship. She was quite introverted, so I didn't expect anything out of her. I just liked looking at her. Bala lived in a two-storied Newari designed house. The house looked old, but you could say that the house must have been one of the most beautiful houses a decade ago. Despite looking old, the house still had its aura. If you ever passed by the road, you would want to stop and look at the house. It was right beside the main road and local police station. So you could say that the owners built this house with a fortune spent. Her father had a drinking problem. It was not a secret, but she never really talked about it. Her father owned a sweet shop, but it was mostly looked after by her mother. She was not active in class activities, but good at studies. I remember being stunned when I saw her for the first time. She was this feminine energy that made me interested in her instantly. I just couldn't process the feeling that she was just a teenager like me. She was too calm and composed for her age. I sometimes used to wonder, is it just me or the whole class perceives her the way I do? I used to think about getting attention in school because I was friends with her. Don't get me wrong, I didn't hate her, but I couldn't stop observing her from the day we became friends. I sometimes engaged myself in thoughts about difficulties in her life. Her father was notorious for his embarrassing drunk stories, so much that he was the talk of the day. But I saw this situation as something that would make her look even more attractive. Her misery, in the contrary, attracted me. I used to think boys from my class should be liking me because I'm fun to be with. I also used to imagine Bala being with some guy. What would she be like then? Could she possibly be funnier then? Would they enjoy her company? How would they see her? As a perfect feminine goddess who just mesmerizes everyone with her presence, or a girl they would just get bored eventually. I thought about Bala that I so much thought about Bala that every time I was alone in my home, I tried feeling like her. Imagined being this girl who is always on her best behavior. That feeling made me feel good about myself, but every time when she was around, I couldn't feel as feminine as I would like. We never fought. We never fought. She never talked about boys despite getting attention from them. I used to think, whom does she share her deep feelings with? Has she ever experienced attraction? Was she ever attracted to any guy before? Am I wrong for getting attracted to boys? Why can't she talk about boys? Months passed like this, and one day she told me she would not be coming to school for 12 days. She was 13 and expected to complete the ritual of Gufa or Bara in Newari language, Nepal Bhasa, her local language. Despite not keeping Bara, I knew what Bara was about. You might probably know Gufa depicts the transition of a girl child into an adolescence and hence must compulsorily be carried out before the girl starts her period. In those 12 days, young prepubescent girl were groomed for their upcoming pubescent life. She would be marrying the sun after the completion of Gufa, her husband forever. And since the sun never dies and would protect her from bad people and omens, it was going to be very important, an auspicious occasion in her life. While avoiding the sun, she would also be avoiding male members. She would be spending her time in the dark room and seeing the sun and boys from my class after 12 days. Part of me wanted her to change and start talking about feelings, talking about desire and attraction, everything that a teenager girl would like. While last part of me felt threatened by her beauty and her grace. Not only she was seen to be even prettier as a girl, but also sexually attractive as a young woman in this process. After completion of this process, so I calculated in my head 12 days without her sheet would probably make her skin much lighter. Fellow classmates would see her and talk about how she looked. She would probably look even more pleasing in bridal appearance. How the sun would make her face glow and the red sindoor would add extra charm to her appearance. On the other hand, I would be the same girl I was 12 days ago. I clearly remember Bala feeling nervous before that day. She asked me to visit her in between those days. That somewhat felt good, and I felt intimate with her for the first time, knowing that she would miss me. The school was different without her. I was unsure how I would deal with school environment, especially during lunch break. But surprisingly, school without her was overwhelming. I was finally talking to people and getting to know them in person after observing them for so many years. Irrespective of my distant nature, people were genuinely interested in being friends, possibly because they wanted to know more about Bala as much as I did. I visited her on the third day of Bala. We didn't talk much except for I told her what happened in the class. She was not alone, but there were 11 more girls participating in this ritual with her. I was a bit disappointed after seeing her not giving me any attention, despite personally asking me to visit her. The question arose again, why was she even friends with me? Does she think about me as much as I do? The room was dark. I tried noticing every one of them, but no one was as comfortable as she was. I asked her if she made any friends, but she told me she is only talking to her cousin, who is a year younger than her. She had no one to talk to. It made me satisfied that she has not made that much of new friends, other than her sister. She was the quiet one between two of us. Myself, on the other hand, was making new friends every day and was enjoying not seeing her. Would I be better off without her? I wanted a break from her and decided not to visit her for a few days. I saw her again on the fifth day. I saw her getting comfortable with her environment. As I predicted, she was looking graceful as ever and was singing an old Newari folk song. I never heard her sing before. I sensed other girls in this room getting intimidated by her. Not the best of voices that I've heard so far, but there was soulfulness in her voice. I visited her the next day too. Right after school, I rushed to her house. I was curious to see more of her. Different games and activities were played to register the environment. Today, they were planning a game where Bala was blindfolded in red silk blindfold. She was chuckling and she was searching for her hidden friends to catch. Me, being a visitor, I sat in a corner and watched them play. She seemed absorbed with this sealed world. I enjoyed her giggles and her perfect set of teeth. Not once I saw her happier than she was. The seventh day arrived. She had a few days left now. She looked fresh and much prettier than from school. She looked at me with those deep brown eyes, slowly lifting her eyelashes and asking me if today we were burdened with classwork. I tell her not to worry and try to present my best what I learned from the class that day. I found her even prettier in the dark. Her dark brown eyes and dark curled eyelashes with her open, luscious, curly hair. She told me that she applied koa on her face, a paste made of rice flour which was supposed to scrub away impurities from her face, it making it glow with fairer, softer, cleaner skin. I noticed her elegantly painted feet. She was applying ala on her hands, which is a red dye that is applied to the hands and feet. It was my first time considering anything other than her face beautiful. Her hands were always better than mine. There were no mirrors allowed in the room. If only she knew how beautiful she has become. I looked at my hands and feet. It was hairy and looked unladylike, while she elegantly looked at me with young ladylike femininity. My lips did not move, but my mind was in fear with the threat. Not only she was gracefully dealing with the environment, she was also also enjoying oneself in the activity of grooming. The hands that I thought were not that hairy and pretty enough started looking hairy to me. I could not handle what was happening around me. I was threatened by her presence and was too afraid to face the future consequences. I wanted to stop thinking about her. I wanted everything to end. It was getting difficult to act normal around her with so many thoughts going in my head. I stood up and left. I ran my way back home crying. I wanted this day to end and I tried to start a new fresh day. I ran my way back home crying. I wanted this day to end and I tried to start a new fresh day tomorrow again. The next day at school children were waiting for the teacher to arrive. So the class was noisy at the time. I suddenly hear the sound of someone breathing heavily on my left ear. I get frightened and asked my classmates if they too heard that sound. No one said they did. It was very strange, but I ignored it, thinking it was all inside my head. I had decided to see Bala on the last day, the day she would finish Bala. As soon as I finished my school and went home, I started looking for my mother. My mother was standing in front of the mirror and chopping her hair off. I panicked and ran towards her. She was almost bald, with few strands of her hair left in her head. I was still unsure what was happening around me. That night, while I was sleeping, I hear a girl crying. I wake up to this frightening dream. I sense someone behind me. I look back and I see my father with teeth wide open staring at me the whole time. I run fast as I can and hide below my parents' bed. Pray that this is just a nightmare. Oh God, make this a nightmare, and I ask God for everything to end. I felt lonely. It was getting difficult to trust my own parents. I wanted to run away from everyone. I was too afraid to confront my parents or even leave the house at this time. It was 3 in the night. I spent the whole night under their bed. For the whole night I kept on saying, God, I wish it's a nightmare. Please make this a nightmare. The next morning, I wake up in my bed and feel glad, hoping it was just a nightmare. Everything was just a dream, except for my mother cutting her own hair. I felt like going to school because it felt much safer there. While I was going to school, I heard someone calling my name. Rekha! It is often said that when someone calls you from behind, you don't look back immediately. I started doubting every event that was occurring. I was not in the best mental state and everything was starting to scare me. I turned back and I saw a girl standing with no head. I gasped. I hurried my way to school without looking anywhere. I just kept on running till I reached my classroom. I did not get proper sleep from the previous night and I didn't realize when I dozed off in class. I opened my eyes right before the lunch break. One of my friends told me someone has called me in the girls' washroom. I went straight to the washroom and heard bangles clicking. It was unusual to hear the sound in school, and in spite of the time, which was lunch break, there was no one other than me in the washroom. I called if anyone was there. Hello? Is anyone out there? Someone asked me to come to the cornermost toilet. I went straight there. As I opened the door, I saw blood all over the commode. I did not get frightened this time. I sensed someone there, and in my mind, I decided to plan everything inside my head and not show any sort of reaction. I needed someone to talk at this point. My parents were themselves acting weird, and anyone who didn't know me well enough would not believe me. I just needed someone to understand me, to trust me. Every moment was getting harder. I was traumatized and I had no one to talk to. Why didn't you visit Bala then? You could have talked to her, Dinesh asked. Yes, you're right, but I couldn't visit her. Why? Dinesh interrogates. Because I saw this vision. I saw Bala, the way I imagined she would look like after she completed her bara. She looked betrayed, but divine in the red bridal outfit. Her eyes are sad and full of secrets, and in my mind eye, she still looks divine as ever and leaves. The moment I saw this, I knew there was something wrong with her. And you still didn't visit her? You know, some girls die due to lack of nutrition in the cold dark room. It is easier for them to fall ill, and since she is not allowed to leave the room, there is little or no medical assistance, and the girl at no cost can be brought out of the room for treatment before the completion of the ritual. Why are you telling me all this? Is she dead? The girl who dies during Gufa must be buried in the exact spot she died, and the female members of the family must dig the earth out of the house to make this possible. Dinesh gets agitated and asks again, Rekha, answer me. Is she dead? How did she die? Do you remember the Allah she was applying on her feet? Which made me so jealous that I never visited her after that? Yes. During Bara, the girls are expected to be under the evil spirit, and the objects used inside the room, no one should be allowed to bring anything outside that room. I stole her Allah. I wanted her to stop. I wanted everything to stop. People say she got ill. She was alive till the 10th day. If only I visited her and gave back that Allah, she could have probably lived. I knew something was not right all those times. I heard those voices, but I never once thought about visiting her. The way I saw it, no one would blame me because this does not sound realistic. And what can a 13-year girl do after all? My younger self did believe in the idea of God, but I thought my pain is more important and I have more reasons to leave. Now she is buried inside the same old house. The son never dies. A Niwari girl who has completed her Kufa will never become a widow. Even if her real life husband passes away, she died in the dark without ever getting to marry the son. She died without seeing the sun for the last time. She felt trapped, and I felt trapped looking at her. Even her soul is trapped inside that house. I gave her pain that no one deserves. She obviously never did anything wrong to me, but today, when I think of what I did, I finally know she was just a little innocent, disturbed girl I should have never let go. After the revelation about her life, Rekha tells her husband, part of my worst younger self would have been happier that I made such a beautiful girl die before she understood womanhood. From the time I took her Ola, I can sense her around me. I can still feel her around me. She was such a beautiful girl who didn't know how beautiful she was. Rekha takes a depressing breath and says, she could never experience what it feels like being a woman. Now you know why this is my third miscarriage. I'm cursed, Dinesh. I can never be a mother. I hope she forgives me for what I did. In her last conscious seconds, she sees a beautiful green hill from a distance and a white lamb grazing. The dawn compliments the white lamb, carelessly jumps from one place to another. She realizes it's a dream, but tries to wake up, but can't.
Thank you so much, Miss Pratiksha, for the wonderful story. Actually, I can relate to this story because my mother myself is from Newar community, and I'm literally grown and brought up by this kind of Newari stories. So I can see a lot of chats that people are sharing in the text there. So I will be taking two questions from the chat. If you guys want to share your story or ask some questions to Pratiksha, Miss Pratiksha, please write your name in the chat box, and then you can unmute yourself and talk.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, sure. Versatile Nepali is there, so you can unmute your mic, but make sure that your story is short.
So I saw one question from Sachin Chester. He asked me if I have heard the story from Nivar friend. Not really this. I wrote this story by my own, though so many of you were saying this is based on a true story, but um, one of my, I have like very close friend who is Neva, and she helped me with writing the story and providing me with information because I really didn't know what happens during Dara. So she told me about everything. So I took information from her and I wrote it down by myself. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so thank you, Pratiksha, for your answer. And Versatile Nepali, do you still want to share your story? Please unmute your mic. We are taking one more sharing. No. Okay, so thank you so much, Miss Pratiksha, for your story. With moving with moving forward this event, I would like to introduce Guff and Stuff's team. Guff and Stuffs, as the name itself mentioned, is Guff and Stuffs through weekly podcast by three individuals who love talking and putting opinions about stereotypical topics and stuff. Behind it, not to forget, they are emerging YouTubers. So guys, make sure you subscribe their channel in the YouTube as well for the weekly podcast of stereotypical topics. With moving forward of the event, I would like to invite Mr. Ankit for sharing the glimpse of his story, the last story that we have for tonight. So, Mr. Ankit.
So hi everyone, my name is Ankit. I hope you're listening. I hope my sound is coming like nice. It's like I hope you guys are listening to me. So my name is Ankit Karki. I'm an aspiring writer, and I'm currently working for the Kathmandu Post as a psychology and art reporter. So I've written a story uh, about mass hysteria, which is taking place in a remote write a story and how we'd approach this program. So we kind of decided to write our own story. So I hope you guys will enjoy my story, and I hope we have done justice to our stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ankit, for your speech. So we are moving forward to the very last story of tonight by Mr. Ankit.
There is a pin drop silence. Only darkness has engulfed the empty hallway where Kamala is standing. The corridor looks like a dungeon which has never seen light any day. She is confused about how she got there in the first place. However, out of the blue, she hears a loud scream. Just opposite to where she is standing, she sees a door-like figure. At first glance, the hallway is so dark that even the door has merged with the darkness, making her difficult to differentiate. But after keen observation, she identifies the shape of the door. Again, a loud scream is heard. This time she's sure that someone is inside the room. Slowly the door starts opening. But a gust of wind closes the door. Scream now gets louder than before. Kamala feels that she has heard this voice before. The peculiarity of the familiar voice makes her walk the corridor slowly to see if anyone is inside it. But her hand starts trembling when she holds the knock of the door. It's all sweaty. Fear occupies her mind.
Her heart is beating so loudly that she's able to hear it as well. But she can't resist herself from helping out the person who's trapped inside. In one go, she pushes the door and falls on the ground. The crying noise is gone now. There's no soul inside the room. She looks everywhere, but she only finds darkness. She tries to stand up, however, her legs are numb. Just opposite to her, she sees some toffees thrown at the floor. She crawls her way to reach out to those toffees and slowly picks one. Suddenly, a wind like force spits her down. She loses control of her body and falls down. The force now climbs on her body, making her uneasy. Please help me, leave me, she cries out loud, moving her hands and legs. She hears a distorted voice saying something to her. Please, leave me alone. I beg you, please, she asks for remorse again. The force slowly gains power in her body and becomes so strong that she can't even move her hands and her legs. Suddenly, the force pulls her legs and she screams out loud. Oh, hello, madam. Your stop is coming now. The bus conductor screams his long out to wake Kamala. She slowly opens her eyes. At first, she's lost and cannot comprehend where she is now. But slowly, she gets to the sense and gives money to the conductor. The bus is moving in its own speed. The roads are twisted and there are turns every minute. Kamala is surprised to find her in such a deep sleep state. As someone who has a sleeping pattern like a dog, she has never slept peacefully. Even a small crack of sound can wake her up, even if she has drunk a whole bottle of wine. After watching outside from her window seat for quite some time, she slowly turns towards the person who's sitting next to her. A pale face, an old man who looks like he is in his mid-50s, gives a wide smile to her. Although he has behaved decently by not invading her space in this 8-hour-long journey, she finds him more creepy than welcoming. Looks like you are from town. Did you come from Kathmandu? Asks the old man. Yes, she replies. Since her childhood, she has always been a keen talker who would talk to anyone she met. But for now, she is not interested to talk with anyone at the moment. She starts thinking of the dream she saw, trapped in a room with a force attacking her. This dream, which repeatedly haunted her, was something that she had been seeing God knows for how long. The only thing that wasn't constant in her dream was the presence of chocolates. Sometimes it was books that were dispersed, or sometimes it was toys. However, the unfolding of events would be the same. She'd slowly open the door and fall down, and force like the speed of a howling wind would knock her down, later gaining control on her. After an hour, she reaches to her stop. In a long journey to this remote village of Rukum from the headquarters, she hasn't eaten or drank anything. The hunger has made her head burst into the pain, and before she thinks she will embarrass herself by getting fainted in front of the villagers, she decides to take a boat to a nearby Hajagar, a mini eatery.
Meanwhile,
Stomach sister बनने mute है ना.
For you, he says. Thank you. How far is the health post from here? She asks. Just a few minutes away, ma'am. I'll take you tomorrow morning, he says in a broken English. Sure, thank you so much for your help, she says, smiling back at him. Before the caretaker leaves her to rest, he drops a bombshell, making Kamala regret her decision of coming to this remote area again. The privilege of having a toilet next to the room is snatched from her. As for her stay here, she needs to walk 2 stories down and use the common tin-made toilet, which is a few steps away from the house. With all those release of the sweat, the whole day she still feels like to urinate. Gaining all the courage before she snoozes off, she slowly comes down. In the dark night, the lantern feels like an armor guarding her. She's even scared to look back and quickly runs to the toilet.
I'm so sorry. Can I get the time of the story where it ended? Ankit, can I get the time? Hello, guys.
I think it was somewhere around 4 or 5 minutes. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think
So, trapped in a room, which is just next to a
yeah.
bus stop where Kamala's now. In a rusty table at the corner of the shop, she keeps her bag down and rests. The Khazagar looks like any other local eateries of Kathmandu. The loud radio, along with the loud sounds of the visitors, are embracing the Khazagar, which is like finding an oasis in an empty desert for her now. At the top of the counter, a man's photo is hung with a small bunch of flowers surrounding it. The photo looks as old as the crockeries, tables, and the settings of the Khazagar, but the man in the photo looks young and vibrant, dressed in an army-like green outfit with a red bandana just above the smiling face. The man was among the thousands of people who lost their lives because of the civil unrest. But Kamala had no strength to occupy such a serious piece of information. All she wanted was a warm meal that would satisfy her hunger. When her order landed over the table, she couldn't resist the hot noodle for a while. In one go, her hunger leads her to slurp the noodles so hard that she starts choking. Baini, are you okay? Do you want to drink some water? Says the shopkeeper who's busy in her kitchen cutting vegetables. No, Didi, I'm fine. I was so hungry that I couldn't resist, she replies after gulping the water down her throat. The exhausting journey makes her lethargic. Her steps are slower, but her breathing gets heavier. The last person she met on the way had told her that it would take half an hour to reach the health post, but the destination still seems far away. The house she saw half an hour on the slopey road are of the same size, still even after walking this long. She sits down to lament on her impulsive decision as well as to rest for a while in the shade of a tree. It's getting darker and she knows that she should find the place where she's going to stay as soon as possible. Amid the tiredness and walking for hours, her mouth gets dried. She slowly picks a bottle which she had filled with water at the eatery she had eaten the noodles before. A cold rush runs her body and she feels that someone is touching her back. Moving her head backward, she tries to find the one who had touched her. Beside the lush jungle, which was getting darker along the rays of sun moving away from the earth, she finds not a single soul. Slowly, she moves her head. A man in his mid-30s appears out of nowhere, leaving her scream out of sudden appearance. The man smiles at her. He's dressed in a wrinkled old blue shirt and black pants. An old bag is whirling around his waist. You got scared, madam. I'm not a ghost. I'm a human being just like you, says the strange-looking man smiling at Kamala. Getting her sense back with her heartbeat getting back to normal, she observes the man's face very keenly. On the left side of his cheek, there are marks which look fresh and made from a sharp object. Her attention is immediately drawn towards it, appealing her motions to touch it with her hands. Who might have caused pain to this man, and why did they hit him? In the strain of thoughts, Kamala starts to ponder around, looking at the man again. Oh, hello, madam. Are you still scared now? Says the man, stopping her from staring at him. No, 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 no. You appeared in such a shocking way that I got scared, replied Kamala to man's query, with an awkward smile on her face. At full speed, gaining her energy back, Kamala picks up her bag and starts walking. The man is walking at the same speed and tries to make small talk again with Kamala. So you came from city? Asked the man again. Yes. Any specific purpose for your visit or you were born here? No, I came for a study. Probably you might have heard about the strange happenings taking place in the school with the girl students over here. I came to help the health workers here, answered Kamala. How will you help the health workers? Well, I'm a student of psychology. Do you know what psychology means, Thai? You city people think we don't know anything? Yes, I know what psychology means, replied the man who now started walking faster than Kamala. The brink of his distaste towards her inquiry embarrassed Kamala. Although she was going to apologize to him, the man started walking faster and faster, reaching a few meters away from her. You educated people think psychology can solve this? Only the shamans, chakris can solve this. The gods are angry with these girls. Because of this modernization, they have become uncultured. God is punishing for their sins, said the man in a commanding voice. The anger thrown towards her by the man was not a new experience. In the cities, she would experience the same dubious and skeptical comments from people who wouldn't even bat an eye for psychological help. In front of her eyes, the man started moving inside the thick jungle, leaving her in a confused state. After several minutes of walking the vertical cliff, she finally reaches the village. Unlike the town, the village is quiet, with birds flying back to their homes. The sun heading down after fulfilling its job for the day. In the tranquility and the chilling fresh air, Kamala forgets all the struggles she had to encounter to reach this village. Her steps are slow. The heaviness from climbing all the way to reach this village, a home for her for the upcoming few weeks, is all gone. Kamala bows her head down and follows the caretaker. The house looks like exactly what Kamala expected it to be. Rustic, old, made from bricks, with thatched roofs guarding the inhabitants against sun and water. She slowly climbs the stairs. Caretaker is leading her. Her steps are slow, but the caretaker walks in an ease, like he's sleepwalking without thinking that he would fall. When she enters the room among her 5 senses open, only her nose is active. Neither she hears the caretaker, nor the darkness makes her see anything. The only thing that she feels is the musty smell of the room. Caretaker slowly lights the lantern and hands it over to her. Here's the room, ma'am. I've made sure that it's comfortable for you, he says. Thank you. How far is the health post from here? She asks. Just a few minutes away, ma'am. I'll take you tomorrow morning, he says in a broken English. Sure, thank you so much for your help, she says, smiling back at him. Before the caretaker leaves her to rest, he drops a bombshell, making Kamala regret her decision of coming to this remote area again. The privilege of having a toilet next to the room is snatched from her. As for her stay here, she needs to walk 2 stories down and use the common tin-made toilet, which is a few steps away from the house. With all those release of the sweat, the whole day she still feels like to urinate. Gaining all the courage before she snoozes off, she slowly comes down. In the dark night, the lantern feels like an armor guarding her. She's even scared to look back and quickly runs to the toilet. The release of urine from her body relaxes her mind. And after using the toilet, just before she's going to enter the house, she hears a noise coming from the back. In this dark night, the middle of nowhere, who could it be? Is it the caretaker? Her mind is making all the guesses. She's scared to turn away. However, she again tries her best to activate her hearing sensation and identifies the sound as her footsteps. She slowly turns and sees 2 girls looking at her. What are you girls doing here at midnight? Aren't you girls scared? Screams Kamala at those 2 invaders who has scared the shit out of her. The girls just stare at her and run away after giving a wicked smile at her response. She is puzzled at the strange behavior at first, but resorts returning to her room for rest. It's a new day for Kamala. The sun has shone, and the peaceful village which she had seen yesterday in the night isn't gloomy anymore. After walking for a few minutes, she finally reaches her workstation. She is immediately greeted by Ganesh, the local health assistant, who offers a garlands of flowers to her. I hope you're liking your village, Kamalaji, says Ganesh with a pleasing smile on his face. Kamala nods to his concern and is touched by his hospitality. Even though she is far away from her home and outsider to the locals, she feels welcome. Most of the people she met, the students, except the peculiar-looking man she met on her way, were helpful and always greeted her with a wide smile on their faces. After the chit-chat about the journey and the weather, Ganesh starts explaining the strange happenings that are taking place over the village. For a few months, we have been witnessing mass hysteria again in various girls. They started screaming loudly out of sudden in the schools, shaking their bodies. That's created a havoc here.
As people are thinking that a spirit is doing it. Even before he was done with his explanation, Kamala knew how she could help. As superstition still ran on the blood of people, she knew that mass hysteria is happening because of a psychological reason. Do you know the history of those girls? Ganeshji asked Kamala. Ganesh starts checking his notebooks. Kamala knew that he was acting out, but she did not say anything to him. It's fine, Ganeshji. We'll find more about them after our visit, says Kamala. However, she got the shock of her life when Ganesh told her that he couldn't join her for a few days as he had to leave her headquarters for his personal work. Kamala was furious. She had come all the way from Kathmandu in this remote village to help these innocent girls. The situation could deteriorate if they weren't helped in time. Some of the girls were taken to local jhakaris already. However, the only health assistant in the village was running away from his duty, she felt. I hope you won't mind. If you need any help, you can ask the locals. They will show you the way to the school, said Ganesh, with a smile on his face to hide his embarrassment. Kamala wanted to yell at him for being responsible. However, her stone-faced expression communicated her feelings, and she began to worry about how she will be able to help those innocent girls without the support of a local person. Kamala starts climbing the step. The sun is rising in its glory and is hotter than yesterday. Another thing to add on her regret list. The 1 hour-long journey has exhausted her. The sweat glands are rejuvenated and she's all wet. In a big rock beside a peepal tree, she decides to rest for a while. She shuts her eyes for a while and tries to enjoy the luscious nature she always remains out of touch with. The city is her home. Tall buildings excite her. While standing on the roof or sitting beside the windows, when the wind blows on her face, her body receives a sensation that cools her mind out. But the wind blowing in the green and clean suburb, just a different experience. She finds more comfort in losing herself here than the city. Slowly she opens her eyes. Likewise the previous time, the strange-looking man appears in front of her, the crooked smile in his face. Kamala is furious at this intruder. How strange is that I always find you in the middle of jungle when you're closing your eyes, right? Expresses the man. Kamala again stares at his face. His eyes look peculiar and the marks are still there. It's bigger than before. But Kamala feels like not talking to him. His rude behavior was perplexing enough to think that she was not answerable to any of his queries. She slowly stands and begins to walk. Hey, psychologist. Are you going to school to treat those indecent girls? Asked the man who's following her. Well, Kamala knew that it would be difficult to explain the villagers given the fact that they believed this was a spirit coming from the grave to take revenge by entering into the bodies of souls. But what she was not expecting was that sexism would curtail in getting those innocent girls from Tito. She was clearly aghast by his remark, but she kept moving. I can take you to that school. I'm their teacher, said the man. At first, Kamala didn't want to take his help, but in the middle of jungle, where she sees no soul, she had to take his help. So you are their teacher, and you think like this, said Kamala to him, who now was walking along with her. Madam, girls and guys are different. In most cases, these incidents are happening to those who don't study hard in school. You know, they don't even listen to me in my extra classes, he replied. Slowly, he starts leading her, and they finally reach the school. A 2-story long building, the school was at the top of the cliff. A signboard was kept at the entrance. Amar Shishu School, read Kamala. After getting a breath, Amar Shishu School, the man said again with a crooked smile on his face. It was 1 p.m. when they had reached the school. Rats had started to run her stomach due to hunger. But today she just came to the school and talked with the authorities. The school was empty. Only a few students were sitting inside a damp classroom. She enters the room along with the teacher. At the corner of the classroom, the spider has built their pod. The desks are filled with dust. The students give a puzzling look at her arrival. After observing the students, she is curious to know why the whole school only has a bunch of female students in a single room, that too in such a small number. In her head, she thought that the school would be surrounded by students and teachers running here and there, as Ganesh had told her that it was the most preferred school in the village. Why are there so few students? Where are the other students? Kamala asks the teacher. They all are gone. We had holiday today in school. So we just have these students who are studying extra class. He tells her. Kamala again looks at the students. Dressed in kurta salwar, they look the same age. An air of melancholy surrounds the room, and Kamala feels sorry for these girls who still are being taken to jhakris for the treatment when in real life they need counseling and mental health. She walks to the teacher, who's busy now staring at the students with the same wicked smile. So these are the students who need help, right? The teacher slowly turns at her. Yes, they need, but not yours. What of jhakris? He replies. Out of blue, he starts shouting at girls. A bad soul has entered in the body. Only a jhakri can fix your girls. With these cries, the girls get scared. Some start screaming out loud, while a few resort to crying. Kamala is astonished at this behavior. What kind of teacher is this person? She thinks. It has been a long and difficult day for Kamala. She found the teacher's behavior towards the student a bit weird as well as problematic. She tried calling Ganesh many times to complain about the teacher, but his phone was unreachable. Exasperated at the situation, she feels helpless. She throws the phone with all the strength she has in her bed and resorts to sleeping. The classroom is dustier than yesterday. The students are wearing the same clothes they wore yesterday. The school is as empty as it was yesterday. All of the situations confuse Kamala. Whether she's in wrong school or in a school where she isn't supposed to be. Before she opens her mouth, the teacher interrupts her. The school is closed now for a few days. Do whatever you want to do with the students now. These are the students who are haunted by the spirit, he says in a commanding tone. I want to meet the principal and other teachers as well, she replies back to him. The wrinkles on his forehead signify he is irritated. Now, listen to her demands. They're not present now, but you can meet them tomorrow. Now focus on this bunch of sinful people, he yells back at her. Without wasting her energy on arguing him, she goes to approach the students who are sitting on the benches. Most of them look around the same age. There's silence in the room. While they haven't opened their mouths, their eyes have done all the talking. In the depth of their eyes, Kamala finds the pain, which is stopping them from being happy, which is stopping them from flying. Kamala goes and sits next to a girl who's in the front row. She moves towards her. The girl slowly moves her head and turns to her side. Kamala slowly moves her hands towards her. At first, her body shows resistance, but when she understands that this is a good touch and the warmth shown by Kamala, she just hypocrites and she slightly smiles at her. Bunny, can you please explain to me what happened to you guys a few days ago? Asks Kamala after making her comfortable and winning her confidence. The girl first looks at her friends. They make some eye contacts, and within one go, she tells everything to Kamala about how she and her friends started shouting, moving their bodies, some blabbering, and throwing things out of sudden. The strange happenings to them had petrified them as when they woke up after getting fainted, they didn't have any memory of this incident. Can I meet your parents? Kamala asks her. Their parents are farmers. They don't have time to indulge in this kind of nonsense, yells the teacher from the front of the classroom. Kamala gives a stare to him for listening to his remark. She wants to give it back to the idiotic teacher whose nonsense she has been tolerating for quite a while. But she doesn't want to stray away from focusing on the larger picture, to identify the problems of these innocent girls who need help and assistance, but most importantly, compassionate shoulder to lean on so they could talk about their problems. Bernie, has anyone done anything wrong to you or bad to you? Asked Kamala to the girl. The girl, who's bowing her head down until now, looks at Kamala after listening to her question. After a few seconds, she turns her head towards the teacher. It was another day for Kamala. She notes down everything that took place today. The absence of teachers and other students in the school. The shady teacher and Ganesh, the health assistant, not picking up his phone. Everything is making her confused. After preparing for how she will start the counseling of the students, she decides to call for the day. Kamala reaches to the classroom. The room is silent. The girls are sitting in the same position. It feels not even a single thing in the classroom has changed after her first arrival. Even the girls are wearing the same clothes. She slowly keeps her back down at the bench and opens it. Trying some color books and pencil colors in her hands, she hands over to the girls. The girls do not give any reaction to her. They just stare at her. To break the ice, she starts briefly explaining the girls about what they are going to do. Okay, girls, we're now going to do some coloring today. Write today's date, your name, and draw anything you want, she says to them. Just after listening to her instruction, like robots, they start quickly moving their hands on the paper. It feels like they were waiting to get a paper and pen so they could have volcanic release of their emotions that is eating them. After a few minutes of sitting down on the chair to give their own private time, Kamala moves to stroll around and see their drawings. The girl sitting in the front row, with whom Kamala had chatted yesterday, paints something that Kamala finds bizarre. She has scribbled all over the paper. The only thing that is recognizable in her drawing is that she has drawn a small house. Kamala then walks a few steps to see what the girl behind her has drawn. When she sees her drawing, an adrenaline rush of shock mongers her mind out. The girl has drawn exactly what the girl the front has. Kamala then moves forward to another girl's drawing, and it is also the same one. Every girl in the class had drawn exact drawing, leaving her terrified. She then keenly tries to observe the drawings. Her eyes slowly move towards the date written on the drawings. She gets another shock as all of them have written the year 2001 in their date instead of 2018. Suddenly a girl starts screaming. She faints. Kamala runs to pick her up. Another girl also starts screaming. And she also faints. One by one, all of the girls in the classroom first start screaming and then faint and fall on the bench. Kamala is paranoid. Her heart starts beating quickly. Running at a speed, she goes to fetch a water bottle from her bag. She starts throwing water to the girls, but no one wakes up. She tries to hold them so they could come back to their senses. Running over here and there, even when she started breathing heavily, her attempts do not succeed in waking the girls up. She runs outside to see if she can find the teacher or anyone who can help her. Not a single soul is outside the classroom. She then again runs outside to call to find out the girls standing. All of their eyes look the same, black color. Kamala goes near them. Winnie, are you fine? What has happened to you girls? She asks. A girl looks at her and says, "He's good," and laughs in a scary way. All of them start shouting and screaming loud. Throwing the color books here and there, Kamala is petrified to see the girls in such a situation. She runs like a cheetah down to play if she can find anyone. Well, quickly running down, she meets the teacher on the way. She knows the teacher has done something wrong with these girls. Before he speaks anything, she runs far away from him, striking her head in the stone, leading her to fall down from the cliff. A bunch of villagers hover around Kamala. Slowly she opens her eyes. Her head is heavy. First it's difficult for her to get a sense, but slowly the visions of girls shouting and screaming is on her mind. "Ma'am, are you alright?" screams Ganesh at her. Her head is still heavy. "Yes, the teacher is doing something wrong to the girl. We should go and help them," says Kamala, keeping her hands on her head because of the pain. "Ma'am, which teacher are you talking about? I've been calling you since morning. My phone got lost, so I couldn't call you. The teachers told me that you haven't visited the school yet. Is everything alright, ma'am?" he says. "I went to school 2 times." "Which school, ma'am?" "Amar Shisu School." Ganesh is taken back after listening to her. "School doesn't exist, ma'am. During the war, the police blasted the school as they were doubtful of a teacher who was taking the extra class. The police thought that the students and teachers were making plans to attack the police." Ganesh explains to Kamala. "No, it exists. The teacher is harassing the students. We should go to school. We should go to the school." Kamala starts blabbering. "Yes, ma'am, it was later found that girls were being harassed by the teacher. They had no connection with the Maoist. But now the school doesn't exist, ma'am. Only the Ravens are there and no one dares to go to that school," he says. Kamala does not pay any concentration to what he is speaking. She starts blabbering again. We should go to the school. We should go to that school." Suddenly Kamala sees the teacher in front of her.
He starts revolving around the crowd, and Kamala starts pointing her finger at him. See, he's the teacher. He's the teacher of the school. Kamala screams, looking at him. The villagers look in the direction she points her finger, but they see no one there. The ghost of the teacher stares at Kamala. Is school, not school, he says, giving the same crooked smile at her. Kamala now starts screaming and shouting. She starts moving her body in full speed, twisting her arms, carrying all the spectacles. Looks like she has been haunted by the spirit as well. Call the Zakri, a villager shouts. Look at her, she's fainting. Look at her, she's fainting. Another villager says, and Kamala falls on the ground abruptly, shocking everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ankit, for the amazing narration of this story. The sound over the voice track is so amazing, it completely blown my mind. Thank you so much, Ankit, for your narration. So,
Thank
with
you.
this note, so welcome. So, with this note, I'd like to open the discussion space. I'd like to take two sharings or two questions for Mr. Ankit. So, if you guys have some questions, please write your name over there and please ask a question to Mr. Ankit.
I think you can ask questions in any language you prefer. Do not limit yourself in English only. If you're comfortable in asking the questions in Nepali.
Mhm. Okay, Shrishma, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, this is Shrishma. I think this question goes to every हाम्रो हुन्छ नि storytellerहरूलाई. So जब हजुरहरूले त्यो जुन well, thank you so much for your एकदम spooky story हैन. सुरुमा त एकदम डर लाग्यो थियो त्यो story, त्यो sound effectहरूले. मेरो question चाहिँ के भन्दा चाहिँ हजुरहरूले जुन त्यो साउन्ड इफेक्टहरू राख्नुहुन्छ नि हैन. सो लाइक हाउ डु यु डु दिस, अनि त्यसपछि यो कम्प्लिट एउटा भिडियो बनाउनलाई चाहिँ अनि अब हजुरहरूको त्यसै अब हुन्छ नि नरेट गर्ने बेलामा पनि त्यस्तै त्यो लाइक सस्पेन्स अनि स्पुकीवाला टोन लिएर आउनुपर्छ नि त. अनि सो हजुरहरूले चाहिँ कसरी अब त्यो एउटा भिडियोमा लिएर आएर एन्ड देन त्यो त्यस्तै अनुसारको साउन्ड इफेक्टहरू खोजेर अर यु डु इट बाई योरसेल्फ, आफैले साउन्डहरू बनाएर गर्नुहुन्छ कि यो रिसर्च अर इन्टरनेट अर हुन्छ नि त्यस्तो गर्दा. अनि हाउ मच टाइम डज इट मेक टु मेक वान कम्प्लिट भिडियो फर यु गाइज? द्याट्स माई क्वेसन. थ्याङ्क यू.
Yeah, so for this video, for this like horror stories, it took almost like 2 days for us to make like a complete video, you know. So regarding audio, so we have used all the soundtracks from YouTube, all the free soundtrack from the YouTube for our background score. And regarding the story, like it took us like 2 days to write the story, and it took another 1 day for us to record it and to re-record it as well, as because there are flaws around. So because we are recording, we're not recording it in the studio, right? So we don't have a soundproof system built in our home, so it's really difficult to record. It was difficult to record stories. So video is not actually difficult. I think the audio, because in ghost stories, if you guys remember, if you guys know, the audio should be nice. Okay, the audio should be able to deliver what we are going to say. Okay, so audio is more difficult than the video, I think. Once you get the audio right, the video will support it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ankit, for your answer. So we have another question from Mr. Acharya. So the question is, how much you are frightened of ghosts, and how overcome your fear of it, like everyone is feared of it as a child?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not sure whether the ghost or any supernatural like creature exists in the first place. I'm not sure because I've not experienced it. until now. But yeah, the ghost stories do really scare the shit out of me. So whenever I listen or whenever I watch a horror movie, I try my best not to think about it, especially Pelka. I don't want to think about it. The best thing is I try to ignore it. What happens is that if you guys know Sigmund Freud, this theory of repressed hub or when it's a so second five basically one. So the more you think about a certain Quran, the more you keep those things in your subconscious mind, to say it will come back. So if you talk about it or if you have experienced something, then if you openly talk about it, it will not haunt you back. But if you try to suppress those stories, it might haunt you or it might affect you psychologically.
Okay, thank you so much, Ankit, for your answer, and thank you so much, Pravesh, for your questions. So, after we complete all the three stories,